When thunder shook the windows of Villa Diodati in 1816, the conversation inside turned toward a frightening possibility. Could electricity awaken the dead? The guests gathered there: Lord Byron, Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley, Dr. John Polidori, and Claire Clairmont. We're living through an age where science seemed to be rewriting the rules of existence itself. What began as discussion during a storm would merge imagination with experiment, poetry with physics, and philosophy with fear. From that atmosphere emerged one of the most enduring questions in horror history. What happens when humanity reaches beyond the boundaries of nature? The early 19th century was an era of rapid scientific change. Electricity, once mysterious and almost magical, became the focus of intense experimentation across Europe. Scientists and philosophers began asking dangerous questions. Could electricity be the hidden force behind life itself? Could the dead be revived? For many people, these discoveries inspired awe. For others, they inspired terror. The line between scientific progress and forbidden knowledge seemed dangerously thin. Italian scientist Luigi Galvani became famous for experiments involving dead frogs. When electrical current touched the frog's legs, the muscles twitched violently. Galvani believed he had uncovered animal electricity, a hidden force within living beings. To many observers, it appeared as though dead flesh itself had briefly returned to life. These experiments spread rapidly through Europe and became part of popular conversation, inspiring both scientific excitement and Gothic imagination. Giovanni Aldini, Galvani's nephew, pushed these experiments even further. He performed public demonstrations, using the bodies of executed criminals. Electric currents caused faces to twitch, limbs to jerk, and eyes to open. Audiences watched in horror as lifeless bodies appeared to move again. To many people, it seemed that science was trespassing into territory once reserved for God alone. These demonstrations deeply influenced the Romantic imagination. By the summer of 1816, Galvanism had become widely discussed among intellectuals. Inside Villa Diodati, Byron, Percy Shelley, Polidori, and Mary debated the implications of these experiments. Outside, lightning illuminated Lake Geneva. Inside, the guests discussed whether electricity could restore life to dead flesh. The storm itself became symbolic, a natural force mirroring humanity's growing scientific ambition. Percy Shelley was deeply fascinated by science. Before his expulsion from Oxford for atheism, he studied chemistry and natural philosophy intensely. To Percy, electricity represented something almost mythic, a modern form of divine fire. He believed humanity might someday unlock the deepest mysteries of creation itself. But even Percy understood that dangerous knowledge often carried terrible consequences. Byron viewed Galvanism through a darker lens. He was fascinated by ambition, vanity, and the destructive impulses of humanity. To Byron, these experiments revealed mankind's endless desire to control nature itself. Electricity symbolized both brilliance and arrogance. His writings often portrayed humanity as brilliant enough to seek forbidden knowledge, yet flawed enough to misuse it. Mary Shelley absorbed every conversation around her. One night, she later recalled dreaming of a pale student kneeling beside the body he had assembled. The creature stirred to life. Though Mary never described the exact process scientifically, the implication was unmistakable. Electricity galvanism had become the spark behind Frankenstein. Her story transformed scientific theory into Gothic mythology. Galvanism raised enormous moral questions. What separates life from machinery? Should scientific discovery have limits? Could humanity create something it could no longer control? These anxieties reflected the Romantic era itself. Industrialization was changing society rapidly, and many feared that science might outpace morality. Frankenstein became a warning about knowledge without wisdom. Dr. John Polidori approached these ideas differently. As a trained physician, he understood the realities of medicine and anatomy. Unlike Percy Shelley's optimism, Polidori viewed scientific ambition with suspicion and anxiety. His later story, The Vampire, reflects this fear. The vampire becomes a figure who drains life itself, a metaphor for ambition, intellect, and corruption consuming humanity from within. What frightened the Romantics now feels startlingly modern. Today we debate cloning, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. Mary Shelley anticipated these fears centuries ago. Frankenstein remains relevant because it asks timeless questions. Just because humanity can create something, does that mean it should? The scientific anxieties born at Villa Diodati never truly disappeared. The Romantic era gave science emotional and philosophical meaning. These writers understood that discovery was never purely mechanical. Every scientific breakthrough carried wonder, fear, ambition, and consequence. The storm at Villa Diodati symbolized this perfectly. Lightning became more than weather. It became a metaphor for knowledge itself, illuminating and dangerous at the same time. Genealogists often focus on inherited physical traits, but intellectual and emotional inheritance can travel through generations as well. Byron's bloodline continued through Ada Lovelace, who helped pioneer modern computing. The Rossetti family carried forward Polidori's artistic legacy. Though the Shelley line eventually faded, their ideas survived through literature and philosophy. The Romantic imagination became a form of inheritance itself. The storm over Geneva was both literal and symbolic. The lightning outside reflected the dangerous energy inside those young minds. Galvanism became more than science. It became a symbol of human ambition, creativity, and fear. The Romantics understood something we still struggle with today. Knowledge can illuminate the world, but it can also transform it in ways we may never fully control. The spark Mary Shelley imagined still flickers every time humanity pushes against the limits of nature. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 3 of the Bloodlines of Horror. Genealogy Behind the Gothic. In future episodes, we'll continue exploring the real people, inherited legacies, scientific anxieties, and historical inspirations that shaped Gothic literature and horror history. We'll continue examining the intersections of genealogy, science, psychology, philosophy, and storytelling across generations. If you enjoyed this presentation, please like, subscribe, follow, and share.